Hey boys and girls, Lady Silver Vixen here. Um, I'm actually going to do a video on the God and the Goddess because they're not really talked about very much in YouTube videos. Most of you who have been practicing for at least a month or two already know who the God and Goddess are, especially if you've watched some of my previous videos where I've mentioned them off and on. Um, the God and Goddess are equals. One is no more important than the other. You don't put the goddess above the god. You don't put the god above the goddess. It doesn't work that way. They're equals. Um, they're also commonly referred to as the Lord and the Lady, which a lot of you who, like I said, have watched previous videos, you'll hear me mention them off and on. Um, just a few quick little tidbit fact things. The god is usually known as the horned god. Most of you have probably seen pictures of Cernunnos. Um, you've probably seen pictures of Pan. Uh, as another good example is Baphomet. Um, these are all examples of harmony amongst man and beast. Okay, it's also a symbolism of divinity embodying man and beast. The horned god really is a true symbolism of this unity. Um, some of his life stages a lot of people have heard of are usually the lover and consort as well as the son. A few of the other stages that he goes through are also the sage, the warrior, and in some traditions, the king, where you're talking about the Holly King versus the Oak King. The Oak King ruling over the light half of the year, which starts at Yule and goes to Lammas, or some people say Lammas. And that's where the Holly King, his brother, takes over. They are actually one and the same, but each one actually represents a different tree and a different part of the year. Um, the god is actually highly incorporated into the Wiccan path. A lot of people aren't aware of this, and in Wicca, you actually the main priority is bettering yourself through the worship of the goddess and the god. Um, a lot of people really don't realize that because of the whole magical aspect. But if you really look into everything you do, the god and goddess is there. Whether it be a heron actually, consuming a fish, so that way it can feed its young later. You know, penguins are another good example. The whole concept of survival is the god aspect. Um, the goddess, everybody knows the three stages of the goddess: the maiden, the mother, and the crone. What some people don't really know too much about, though, is that in certain traditions, in the winter time, which is what I'm currently in at the moment, I would show you outside where there's snow, but it's dark, so I'm sorry about that. Um, but the goddess is actually known as the Snow Maiden or the Maiden of Innocence because white is purity, it's snow, it's clarity. And at this time, some traditions will actually say that the maiden is draped in her innocence, um, which is snow. Um, going back to the god real quick, he is most notably known as a sacrificial type deity. Um, and this is because he dies at Samhain, okay, and is um, conceived and is actually in the womb of the goddess at this point in time at Yule. And then he is actually brought forth and born, um, usually in the spring. Some traditions will actually will celebrate this at Candlemas. They'll do it at a Malk, um, another word for Candlemas. Um, they'll Some of them will actually celebrate it at the spring equinox. Personally, I'm a person who actually does celebrate it at the spring equinox because it's the perfect time for balance and unity. And then as he grows, um, at Beltane is when the goddess and her her consort are of equal age, so to speak. They're the maiden and the lover at that point. And believe it or not, Beltane is actually one of the most sought after for Wiccan hand fastings, which is marriage. Um, some of the most common, the biggest common saying is that all gods are one god, all goddesses are one goddess. And the reason for this is because the names are actually something that we use ourselves to generate certain aspects of the goddess and the god into our daily lives, things that either we want to get rid of or things that we want to attain. In the case of, say, like Bastet, if you're looking for that nurturing mother, protector, Bastet's a great goddess. If you want to rid yourself of being kind of selfish, um, you're not so nurturing, things along those lines, working with Bastet will help you get rid of the negative sides and bring in the positive. Um, we usually call these particular aspects, such as Bastet and Anubis, Isis, Osiris, Athena, Apollo, things like this are usually known as patron deities. These are deities that we specifically choose to work with or are drawn to work with so that we can bring change into our own lives so that way we can better those around us. When working with patron deities, sometimes they'll change, like anything in nature, they change. For some, it'll be within a month, some of them a couple months down the road, or even years down the road. And then for some others, they won't change at all. You can actually call on these deities and bring them into your rituals and your rites on a daily basis, or just send a prayer to them for protection or for peace, inner guidance, things along those lines, just so that way you can actually incorporate these things on a daily basis. Um, my advice to you, if you're looking for a specific patron deity instead of a broad term for the god and goddess, you want something more specific to incorporate into your life, do research on the deities that you feel drawn to. If you don't feel drawn to any particular deities, then go do research. And I'm talking tons and tons and tons of research. Personally, I follow more of a an Egyptian pantheon. Um, as I showed you, I have Bastet. I also have Anubis. Um, those are my patron deities. They reside on my altar. Um, one of the other things too is that people don't always fully grasp the concept of when the god and goddess come together, they create. Well, sometimes coming together doesn't always necessarily mean that they have to have sex in order to create. When they come together, they are one. Um, if you consider the story concerning the goddess actually birthing this the god, when he is within her, they are one. And through his birth is creation. So there's a few things that can get a little confusing off and on with gods and goddesses because depending on the pantheon and the tradition and the lore that goes with it, it can get a little confusing, if not weird. A lot of people will get weirded out by certain traditions and certain pantheons and the lore that go with them. Because you'll notice in a lot of the different pantheons, there's either like miraculous conception or there's inbreeding or there's something weird going on that in today's society it's not that acceptable. But you have to remember that back then when these creations were first brought about, when we first started being able to conceptualize the whole ideology of a god and goddess, that these stories were actually based on what was socially acceptable at that time and what wasn't. That's why if you read through any of the different lores that are out there concerning what most people call mythological paths, or just generally mythology, um, such as the Greeks or the Romans, the Norse, the Egyptians, anything like that. You'll notice this like wide, vast variety of information and a lot of weird stuff going on. Um, the thing is, though, is that they all deserve respect. They really do. These are traditions and paths that, as an individual, you feel drawn or you just feel so compelled within to follow. Um, this is actually the creators moving through you, whether you want, whether you don't really comprehend this or not. Everything has a natural duality to them. Within me there is the goddess and the god. Within my husband there's the goddess and the god. Within any animal there's the goddess and the god, and it's a balance. It really is. It breaks down to a balance. Um, I am capable of creation because both reside within me, and my husband and me becoming one are able to create because both of those reside within both of us. They are capable of connecting with one another in order to create the creation. Um, a few simple ways to honor deity. There's a bunch of recipes online for oils. There's a bunch of recipes online for incense. These are great things to do. You can actually bless candles in their name and then pray over them or use them to draw in the energy, so that way you can help make specific modifications in your life. Um, the other thing that you can do is burn an offering incense. When you do your rituals or when you're doing a spell, burn this offering incense. It's actually very powerful, very motivating. Um, and sometimes you don't even have to do that. I mean, I pray over top of candles all the time, although this one particularly I use more for communicating with the god. I have a very large white pillar candle for the goddess. Um, it the candle size doesn't really matter. It's the energy that you put into it. Um, we're capable of doing so many great things in our lives and touching other people's lives through specific actions and sometimes just merely words. There's going to be one person who listens to this video and sits there and goes, "Oh my God, that's exactly how I feel. That's exactly what I believe." Um, and that person's life, their life will be touched by just mere words, by mere expressions. All you're seeing when you watch this video is a recording of me talking, okay? And my husband's foot just a wiggling and a bouncing and everything else while he's on the computer. But the passion is still there. And a lot of you will actually really feel it come through the videos. Um, tone, pitch of voice, all of this. It all comes through the video. Whether you don't believe this, whether you do believe this, it doesn't really matter, to me anyway. Um, I know what my path is. I firmly walk the path of the goddess. I am proud to walk the path of the goddess. And if you feel that way, then please, by all means, follow it. Listen to your heart. Follow what she tells you. Um, just a few words from my own personal experience. I have gone through quite a hellacious life, to say the least. Um, I've been very blessed to have such a very supportive family who's always been there, and a very supportive husband who's been there. Um, different things happen to different people for different reasons. Um, actually reached a point when I was a teenager where I actually considered suicide due to the amount of bullying that I was going through. Um, I used to be a very meek, very timid individual. Wouldn't hesitate to talk, but you know, dealing with bullying was an extremely tiresome, very depressing, and very disheartening experience to have to go through. Um, I actually seriously did contemplate suicide at one point. I no longer do. Uh, I actually thought so low of myself that there was nothing in this world worth living for. And then one day, I was outside and I was expressing myself over a candle to the goddess and to the god. And I just let my heart pour out. And before me stood the goddess. Not in the traditional form that you would consider, but a bird just kind of swooped down from the sky and sat in front of me. And if you're wondering what kind of bird it was a crow. Um, we had crows in and out all the time, but none ever stopped and stayed in front of anybody in the yard. Most of the crows were scared of people. Um, but this crow stopped and actually stood in front of me and stared at me. And in that instant, I knew that the goddess was before me, that the god was embodied through this animal. And they were telling me that no matter how bad things get, there is no obstacle in this world that I cannot overcome. Um, and it gave me a purpose. It gave me that passion to continue on. I'm a very compassionate individual. People in need I'm compelled to help. Um, if I can help an individual, I feel so satisfied inside. Not because I have to do it or I feel that it is an absolute necessity to help these individuals. It's because I want to. It's because I feel that um I feel like it's the goddess and the god moving through me in order for me to help these people that need help. Um, you really do have to reach out sometimes, um, and not through suicide or anything like that, but just over a candle, over a candle. Say a prayer. I know it's kind of weird for pagans to pray for some people, but prayer is actually a very powerful and very motivating thing. Um, yes, Wiccans do spells. Yes, we play with herbs, we play with candles, the whole nine yards. But every once in a while, it's okay to sit down with a candle and pray and ask for help. Ask for healing energy. Ask for what the necessities that you need to survive. Um, if it's truly needed in your life, the universe will provide it for you. I'm not trying to be some crazy love and lighter that you guys see on all over YouTube and all over forums and everything else. I'm not like that. And I'm going to put this very simply. There's always a darker half to the god and the goddess, no different than there is a darker half to me, no different than there's a darker half to you. The darker half does not mean that the god and goddess are evil, okay? Um, for every good action, there's also a negative action. There's people out there who intentionally try to cause harm to individuals, and then you have them stop. They will stop, just out of the blue. Some people don't, but there's a bunch of people who do. They realize what they've done to other people, and they stop. And this is where you have both the light and the dark coming together in one person. We are all capable of great things, no matter who tells you otherwise. You are all, anybody who watches this video, capable of great things. You just have to believe in yourself. You have to have that love, that compassion within you to help not only yourself but others. Um, a lot of people are going to watch this and sit there and say, oh, well, you live in a house and you have all these things, you have a computer and da 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 da. But the whole thing, when you really boil it down to, what I have, these are material things. Um, I don't need material things. And this goes into the other thing that I wanted to talk about real quick. because I've noticed a lot of videos on this. This is an athame, or as some people call it, an athame. This, as nice as it is, and I'll even get it up nice and close so you guys can see it. Okay, this is an absolutely gorgeous athame. All right, the blade's very nice. It doesn't keep an edge because it's strictly for show, but it's not needed. It's not. Um, if you can't afford these expensive tools, you don't need them. If you have fingers on your hand or if you have toes on your feet and you are capable of focusing and directing energy, you don't need those tools. They are strictly a focal point to direct energy, and you can do that through your own body. There's going to be a lot of people who are going to watch this video and they're going to sit there and go, "Oh, well, you're wrong." No, I'm not. I know because I can do it, and my students that I teach can do it. I've known more advanced practitioners in the short 13 years of being an eclectic Wiccan um, that do this themselves when they're in solitary practice. That they know the goddess doesn't care. The goddess does not care how expensive of an athame you have or how elegantly decorated your wand is. Okay? What the goddess and the god care about are the energy and the love and the compassion that you hold in your heart. It's written all through the Law of Three as well as the Wiccan Rede and in just about every kind of text that we as Wiccans will actually use. Most of the time it's through poetry, but nonetheless it's still a text. Um, love is law. Love is what is in you. Love is what allows us to create as well as destroy and then create something new and different. This applies to ideas, it applies to theories, facts, the whole nine yards. It applies to everything. The goddess and God are within everything, including me and you who are watching. Okay? You who are watching if you're watching this, you obviously have not seen YouTube videos concerning this subject at some point or another. Um, or at a minimum, at least this long and this passionate. Um, the goddess has actually really moved me to become a better person. This is why I actually follow Wicca. It has made me a better person. And the religion itself has not made me a better person, but being able to talk to divinity outside in my house, sitting in front of the altar that I have sitting next to me over here, um, my altar, it doesn't have to be extravagant. It doesn't have to be, overabundant. Yes, I have a lot of crap all over my altar right now, and it's not exactly organized, but it happens, okay? And I fully anticipate cleaning it at some point very soon. But back to the point is the goddess doesn't care how many tools you have. The goddess doesn't care how many statues you have, how many different crystals you have, how many different oils you can make, how many different teas that you use on a daily basis. She doesn't care about that at all. And if you're wondering how I know that, I talk to the goddess every day. I talk to the god every day over a candle. I feel them in my heart as I speak to you right now. Um, I'm extremely moved by being able to sit here before this video camera and actually tell these things to you because nobody else seems to have the movement within them in order to make a video like this, in order to speak their minds and speak from experience. I can take notes like this all day long and feel nothing at all. I know because I did that with the Bible. Um, felt nothing. I started writing these notes down, and I started feeling the goddess move through me. And as crazy as this sounds, I really do feel the creators as one within my soul because they've created my soul. I am one with them. They are one with me. They are one with everything, and yet nothing at all. So the question I pose to all of you who are going to watch this video, and if you've made it to this point, I give you mad props because I talk a lot and very rapidly, and I will change subject very quickly. This is now at 25 minutes and 19 seconds, and I'm still talking. Um, if you don't like this video, that's fine. I don't care. You weren't meant to see this video if you don't like it. Um, but this is the question I pose to all of you who are watching this video at this point in time. Um, when's the last time you stepped outside? When's the last time you stepped outside and actually looked for the creators in everything? In the trees, in your friends, in the general actions and the rights that you do on a daily basis. I'm going to actually quote. I'm actually going to quote from the Charge of the Goddess, um, because there's something specific that many Wiccans forget about, and they really don't understand this particular phrase. Um, give me just a moment. My computer's running a little slow. Where's it at? I usually have this prepared, but this is my second attempt, and this is actually an addition. Um, From me all things proceed, and unto me they must return. Let my worship be in the heart that rejoices. For behold, all acts of love and pleasure are my rituals. Let there be beauty and strength, power and compassion, honor and humility, mirth and reverence within you. And you who seek to know me, know that the seeking and yearning will avail you not, unless you know the mystery. For if that which you seek you find not within yourself, you will never find it without. For behold, I have been with you from the beginning, and I am that which is attained at the end of desire. Now I'm gonna briefly speak about this. Everything you do, if you hold love in your heart, everything you do is in respect and honor of the goddess and the god. Okay? Everything. Whether it be washing the dishes or doing the laundry or vacuuming the floor or actually doing an elaborate ritual. Okay? It can be as simple as sitting over top of a candle and saying a prayer. Whatever you desire, you have to find within yourself first. For the longest time, I was incapable of loving myself, so thus I could not find love outside of myself. What would be the point? I found the strength and the wisdom within myself to know and and just feel complete love and compassion for everyone, including those that kind of irk me. Um, that doesn't mean that I don't love these people. I love everybody unconditionally, and I don't really actually hate anybody. I have a general dislike for individuals, but who doesn't? It's a part of human nature. The last thing I really want to talk about real quick is nothing. There's nothing else for me to talk about concerning the god and the goddess. Because at this point, if I continue on, traditions start coming into play and expanding on this constant concept of the names and everything else. You are all going to learn this at some point or another in your lives if you continue on the path of Wicca. I just hope that you have all felt and been moved by the words that I have actually presented to you here today. Okay? The goddess loves you. The god loves you. And whether you call him Yahweh, whether you call him Cernunnos, whether you call her Isis and him Osiris, it doesn't matter. They're all the same deity. We just interpret them differently. And any way that you look at it, they love you. They love you, okay? Respect, love, and cherish every minute of every day that you are alive and breathing, because there are many people who have been bullied to the point where they are no longer amongst us. Okay? Do not let anybody tell you that you are worthless. Do not let anybody tell you that you are incapable of anything. If you set your mind to it and you apply yourself, you are fully capable of overcoming just about anything that crosses your path. But you have to find the strength within yourself. You have to find the strength and the inner wisdom to continue moving forward. Time waits for no one, and I hope you all take this to heart. This is Lady Silver Vixen. I'm signing out.